Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about the Web Data Service from StatCan. It is a code-based way to interact with the data on the StatCan website. Rather than downloading CSVs and loading those into Power BI, we can in fact use some of these codes to pull the information out of StatCan. However, the codes directly as written don't work in Power BI, and we have to add some additional coding lines to make these work, and today we'll go over that. I'm going to cover 3 different code lines. We'll cover the cube, latest end periods, we'll cover the vectors, data end periods, and then we'll get into a more complex one in a second video about how to use vectors and reference period, and we'll use a couple of these codes. So starting with our getDataCube, we'll just go find that code and here we are, right? So so to get the data from the PID, so that's the product ID, which actually is just the table number, and just the first 8 digits of it. So a lot of the tables will have like a 01 or 02 or something like that at the very end. We're going to just drop those off, and then I've found that when we're loading into Power BI, we always kind of need to bring in all 10 digits of the coordinate, even though in your CSV maybe there's only 2 or 3 or 4. And then this one just gets us the last number of report cycles. So if you want a year, we're just going to throw 12 in there. You just want the last few months, or you want more, that number just changes easily. You can do pretty much the same thing with the vector IDs. What I found is the vector IDs that you pull from the CSV files that you'll download, they will have a V in the front. We're just going to drop the V, and everything else will just kind of stay there. So we're pretty much going to disregard this result because it doesn't really tell us a lot, other than, like, eventually, if it works, it will be a successful pull. So let's start with the query editor, and we're just going to start with a blank query, and then we're going to move ourselves into the advanced editor. So a couple things that I like to do to get started is on the StatCan website, they talk about the post URL. So we're just going to take that straight from here. I'm going to copy the post URL. I'm going to put that in quotes to our first line, comma for next line, and then we will also do the post body. And this one, I find actually, because there's a lot of quotes and things in there, that actually what is easier is if we back out. Sorry, I missed a comma. So if we actually navigate up to the post body and we paste our value from the StatCan website in here, so we'll get everything including the square brackets, and if we just post that in there, it looks perfect. But now, if we go in the advanced editor, you'll see that it's added additional quotes in all of the right places, because we need to pass this through as a string. So you can do it either way. You just make sure you throw in your double quotes and quotes on either end. And now what we're doing is we are going to go and we're going to tell the Power Query which essentially what we're calling, and the REST data from the StatCan Web Data Service is in the JSON format. So we're going to start with a JSON document, and then we're doing web contents. Those web contents are going to come from the post URL as our main source, and then once we put a comment in there and we start putting some parameters in there, this turns it into, rather than just a get, it turns it into a post. So from here, we're gonna first, we're gonna call on the headers. So square brackets to start that, and we're gonna call it our headers equals square brackets again, hashtag quotes content dash type in quotes is equal to application slash JSON. Then we are going to throw another piece in here to get us the content component. So the content is equal to turning our text to binary for the post body. So now we've got that. We've closed all of our square brackets. So let's close up our round brackets, and let's just click done here for that. And now you see we've actually landed with a source, and it's got a record. So I'm gonna first then convert this to a table so we can start working with that. You don't have to do anything special to it. So now that we have a record, we're gonna just go in and we're just gonna expand that. You don't need the status column because it's going to tell you success, and the fact that we have data here shows us that it was actually successful, so it's irrelevant. So once we do that, we have now just the object record, and we're going to go through that step one more time. And this is going to tell us all of some fundamental information, and there's going to be some additional layers in here. So we have our table number just like it was, and then we have our data points. So we can do an expansion to new rows here. We have records again, and we just do it one more time. And this carries with it a lot of information, and this is essentially where the rest of our data lies. We especially want to make sure we have the values. A lot of it else is just information about what the information is. So we'll bring it all in, and we see we've got values. We've only kind of gone for the last 3 periods. But what's nice now is if we go back into the post body and we say, well, I don't want just 3, maybe I want 60 for the last 5 years. Now when I navigate back, you see I have a lot more data. So it's relatively dynamic and friendly. So we can do that, and like I said, if maybe this isn't the coordinate that we want, we can go into the post body and say, well, I don't want 112, I want 11. Same deal, and now you see our data has been updated. And you can, if you want, if you're really only just working with one table or series of tables, you can go ahead and set up some parameters to call on that give you a little bit of a different area to type in your information and have that feed into your code and be a little bit dynamic rather than moving in through your code and through your code lines. You can do it through parameters. So let's do the vector one this time. So same thing. Let's just do a new source here. Blank query, same thing right off the bat. So we're going to start with a URL and a body. So the post URL for this one, same deal, right? There's pretty much nothing different about using this one other than our post body has a vector in it. So we'll pull that through. So in this case, because we just are in the coding section, we need to make sure that we're just doubling up on all of our quotes so that it reads it properly. And there we go. So then again, the source is our JSON content, web contents, and that's going to come from the post URL, followed by the headers equals and then the contents equals text binary of the post body, and one more bracket here. So I mistyped. Not contents, content. There we go. Same thing. And then we will just go to table. We can do this. Same variables all around. Call it open. We've got our vector data point rather than our other piece. But see, we've got the same set of coordinates as we did before. Same set of data. So we'll go into how to call multiple coordinates in the next video by using the we're going to use the getDataFromVector by reference period range, and we can use in here you see there's vector IDs, and actually if we go through one of the other ones here, you see here that they've actually called multiple vectors. So we're going to go through a simple way to pull multiple vectors using this, and then we will go through a more complex way to bring in a larger list of vectors.